As an immigrant, I didn't have it as tough as my sisters. They immigrated 4 years before my mother and I came, and the advertising in Germany was, go to Canada, work for 2 years. It's practically like there's gold on the streets. My brother-in-law, he came over and he did not know any English, so the only work he could get was ditch digging. He was also a person who had grown up in the Hitler Youth movement. He was totally immersed in that, and so he was quite a Nazi at heart still, and also everything German was great, right? So when he came over, and of course he would share those kind of feelings about what had happened in Germany, and of course he was treated like a laborer. He did not like being here very much because he felt there was a lot of prejudice.
Mom and I, we would hope that given our education, given our different perspective, we would never have been duped, as she would put it, as Wolfgang, as Waldemar was. But we were never sure.
I remember her saying after all of that had happened, like, she didn't want to go back to Berlin. She wanted to stay in Canada for sure. And I remember hearing that a lot. Like, she didn't have any interest in going back to Berlin because of everything that had happened.
The kind of prejudice that my sisters and my brother-in-law talked about, I have never, ever encountered. Part of that is probably because I didn't flaunt my Germanness, because I was, knowing the history of what happened. It just boggled my mind that so many people could be roped in to do such horrible things.
I think I came during a time where people were starting to not forget, but forgive about it. I had to talk a lot about the Second World War, and I always had to remind them I didn't live then. I don't know. I only know what you know.
But when I came here and with the Bowcroft, I was an Area 1 learning leader first. And it surprised me that students who were Canadian decades later actually thought it was okay to tease a student in the German bilingual program by calling them Nazi or those kinds of names, not even really having a connection to it.
It's kind of taken jokingly. I think for my grandmother's generation, though, it's huge guilt and just sad that that's how Germans are perceived right away. But
I have spoke German with my brother before, and I heard someone whispering behind us Hitler and stuff, that they're like children of Hitler, just because we're speaking German. Yeah. And like they still think sort of people that are German are sort of evil.
It's part of our history, and we should never forget. But I feel we've moved on, and I think Canada is a really good example of how to move on from something that terrible.
I was helped through school. I got a job right away as a teacher, and everything I did or everywhere I went, I had nothing but helpful, kind people, moving me along. So my history in Canada is great.
I think for me, I'm always Canadian, and yet who has a very loving passion for their German heritage.
As a people, we always try to identify with something, and as Canadians, we need to have one focal point to identify with. I guess we are a mosaic of many colorful things, and I think that is the Canadian way to learn and to grow together.